Vanguard is an ever-changing game. For the last 3 years, we were playing standard format. However, Overdress ushers in a new era of Cardfight Vanguard, leaving standard to become V Premium. This week, we're looking at the best decks from the last set of that format before everything changes. This is Winning Images Standard Send-Off. Alright guys, we're back for day 4 of Standard Send-Off, and we're doing my favorite deck from Clan Selection Volume 2 today, and that is Dauntless. So being able to mix with my avatar, Dragonic Waterfall, we got some cool synergies, and the name of the game now is Card Advantage. This deck has no issues like the other previous editions of the Guard Restrict Kagero deck that has issues maintaining advantage, and it's going a little bit more away from the retire style of play to a more Vanguard centric multi-attack type deck. So without further ado, let's hop into it because I'm super excited to show you guys. We have 4 copies of Dauntless Drive Dragon. You guys can see me play this card against Philip from the top deck here, but Dauntless has this cool skill that when its drive check reveals 2 normals, you can choose one of the rear guards and it gets 10k in the front row, and then once per turn at the end of the battle that it attacked, if your hand has 4 more cards, note that condition, you discard 3 cards from your hand, and then stand this unit. And then the other skill, like the OG Dauntless Break Ride, the unit on top of it, when they ride, they get all the skills as well. So that's really good because Dauntless on Dauntless can make 3 Vanguard attacks. Although you're discarding 6 cards and only getting 4 cards from the drive check, it's still super powerful and your opponent will have a hard time dealing. But for that reason, I really like Force 2 because 2 swings, essentially 4 damage, and if your opponent's playing a kind of a standard game, they're already at 2 damage, so that's already lethal. And 3 of Waga Bunshin, Dragonic Waterfall. So Dragonic Waterfall is a really great combo with Dauntless for the reason of one place, choose one of your opponent's grade 2 or greater rear guards and retire it, but the other skill, of course, Soul Blast 1 grade 3. When it attacks, until the end of battle, not the end of turn, your opponent cannot call Sentinels. So the 10k is nice. It doesn't necessarily hit over a lot of things, but it's really good because it forces the guard restrict and your opponent into awkward guarding situations, forcing them to properly plan out their attacks perfectly, and whether or not, depending on when you use the skill, whether it be on the first Vanguard swing or second, can really force the game in your favor or not, because if you hit some triggers on the first Vanguard swing, your opponent's going to have a harder time guarding the second one. And then we have one Dual X. Dual X is still very good at, I think, being able to force Battle Lore and retire your opponent's back row is really good. And plus, when it restands, you're going to be swinging 2 cards. So that's another 2 cards, so that's 6 total, and then 8 total if they're at 5 damage. They're going to need minimum 8 cards to properly defend your attack, making Dual X that much more powerful. So that's it for grade 3s. On to our order. We play 1 book. So this deck isn't as reliant on the book. You can place Aspirations of Limitless Power in the spot, but I still like the book. It's because if you're behind certain matchups, it could really help equalize a lot of matchups for you with the power and the 3 draw. But like I said, it's just a tech slot, and with all the discarding that we do in this deck, you could take it out for anything or just save it and discard it. Next on to grade 2s, we play 4 copies of Wyvern Strike Doha, just helping you maintain advantage more in this deck and help you deck thin for some of the bigger pieces that you want. Find place from hand, search your deck for a Wyvern Strike Garden, call it to rear guard, shuffle your deck, yada yada yada. But then when this unit attacks, if your opponent has no rear guards, your opponent cannot call normal units from hand to Garden Circle. It really only comes up early now because this deck doesn't mass retire like the other one does. But it's still there, and if you get it off early and get Garden skill active at the same time, you pretty much set yourself up for the rest of the game. And then we play 3 of this new card. I think it's called Bark Breath Dragon. It has this really cool skill that at the end of the battle that it attacked and your opponent's rear guard was retired this turn, you can retire it to draw, so helping you meet that 4 more condition for cards in hand with Dauntless if you're going in. But we usually don't have that problem with kind of the advantage engines that we have in this deck. And then when rolled upon by grade 3, you choose one of your opponent's rear guards and retire it. It's basically like a counter rush card, if that makes sense. So a lot of people will not just call units and to prevent you from getting this skill off. So it's really good for that reason. And then we play 2 Dragon Dancer Farja. During your turn, if your opponent has no rear guards, it gets 5k. That affects but this real skill that we use it for is when it's placed on Vanguard or Rearguard, you look at the top 5 cards of your deck, and then you add 1 Wyvern Strike Doha or Garin, which is the grade 1. to your hand and shuffle your deck. So it's essentially like you're playing 2 more copies of each, helping you maintain advantage and really just set yourself up for the rest of the game. Like, this card's interchangeable with Burning Horn for the Soul Blast and Retire skill, but because we have a few cards that Soul Blast, I don't think the Burning Horn is as powerful, but I still like Farja in this slot. If you guys have any ideas for some good grade 2s Kagero could play, let me know, because the last grade 2 that we play is Torg Cannon Dragon. Being able to spot retire and trigger Bark Breath at the same time is just insane for this effect, and you could draw 2 cards off these 2. So it's not like you're really losing anything. So Counterblast 1, put a normal unit for drops into the bottom of your deck, helping you recycle your Garns and Dohas for Farja. And then you choose one of your opponent's grade 2 or less rearguards retire, and if your hand has 4 or less cards, you draw a card. So if you're exactly 4, this could help you get to 5. So I like Torg Cannon a lot. I just think the spot retire is really good, especially for clearing intercepts, because the only card that really does that is Dragonic Waterfall. So, and yeah, that's it for grade 2s. On to grade 1s. We play 4 of the new Dragon Knight from Clan Selection. I forgot his name, but has this really cool skill. Counterblast 1, Soul Blast 1, 1 place. You choose one of your opponent's back row rearguards, retire it, and then you draw a card. So just helping you get a 1-for-1 when it's played. Play 1 card, get 1 card back. And then the other skill is when rode upon, you look at the top 5 cards of your deck for a grade 3, add it to hand. This is really good helping with ride consistency, because you really want to get Dauntless first before you go into your Waterfalls and your Dual Axes, so it's just kind of a setup. But it's really good 1-for-1 type deal. And then we play 3 Garn. I cut this card down from 3 to 4 because although usually you want to play as many Garns as you do Dohas, but the amount of cards that could send this card back to deck in Torg Cannon, you really don't need to play more than 3. And plus, when it's usually on the field, it's on the field. So it's a really good vanilla 8k that you could get out if your Doha's retired. Then 3 Airmo. Airmo, of course, gains 3k when it boosts. And then when your opponent's rearguards retired during your turn, retire this card, draw a card, countercharge 1. So if your opponent is locking damage, although Dauntless doesn't use Counterblast, a lot of cards in your deck cost Counterblast 1, Counterblast 1, Counterblast 1. This card lets you get another one of those effects off. And then lastly, we play 2 Lava Flow Dragon. Standard grade 3 searcher, 13k booster, super important for hitting numbers, and that's why we still keep him in the deck over some other grade 1s that we could run, or the 4th Airmo or Garin. And then for triggers, we have 6 crit, 6 draw. Like I said, we want to be able to maintain advantage and just kill our opponent by out-advantaging and grinding them out. 4 heal, and Conroe as our starter. Kagero was easily the favorite deck of mine that I picked up for Standard. Being a former Overlord player myself, I only really got to play Kagero towards the end of G when kinda everything fell into place and I was able to pick up the Destiny, the Purge, all that jazz. Although I didn't like that deck as much, I definitely really went towards the guard restrict playstyle of Dual Axe, and that really attracted me. And as you guys know, the series that I built this channel off was building Kagero and upgrading the deck every week. And this is what we have now. We have Dauntless, which gives the deck what I feel a true finisher, as Dragonic Waterfall was kind of losing power, and Dual Axe's 2 cards got less powerful as well, making the book more powerful. But then when Dauntless came out, it gave the deck a bunch of options and utility to be able to have other finishing plays and more versatile retire, and not make it as reliant on retire, unironically. But with all the draws and stuff, this deck packs a punch, and I think is easily one of the best decks out of Clan Selection Volume 2.